What's up, Scott Squad? We are back in the building. Of course, I am not at home right now, so I am still visiting my parents and trying to get things done here. But I did promise y'all that we would have a ponderosa about this trip to Cape Town. And I've been talking about it for a couple of months, and we are finally ready to launch. So, as you can see, there's going to be two ways to do this. One, you can text Cape Town to 202-918-3386. And then also, too, there is a link in the description of this video for you guys to register for the trip. But what I thought we would do, because listen, you know what I'm saying? We got to go back to South Africa. Y'all know I went in 2021, I think for New Year's, and had the time of my life. I went in 2014, and both times I had the same person plan my trip. Now, this person is somebody I've known for a long, long time. So I felt like the best way to launch this was to bring him on and have him answer any questions. So his name is Maurice Foley, and he is the owner of Two Oceans Travel. He has been, I guess he's at this point, you could consider him a Cape Town expert. So we're going to bring him on right now, and I'm just going to have a conversation with him because I feel like in order for us to get the maximum benefit of understanding what this trip is and when it will be, I felt like it was best to have him on. So Maurice, welcome to the conversation. Can you give just a little bit of information about yourself and how you came into this travel space and specifically became such, I would say, an expert on Cape Town, because you're the person I rely on when I want to go?
Yeah. So first of all, thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me on this. Like you said, you and I have known each other for a long time. So it's always good to, keep in contact with your friends because you never know when they'll be going somewhere, traveling somewhere. So I was very grateful and very happy that you contacted me based on my history with Cape Town, right? My experience with Cape Town started back in 1998, 99, when my family went over to the Western Cape, because there's two Capes, right? There's the Eastern Cape and then there's the Western Cape. The Western Cape is where you have South Johannesburg and Cape Town and other places. And we went over there to help a community called Bisho, which is just about 20 minutes from East London, South Africa. I helped them to get started on building a church and a community center. And then while we were there, I just fell in love with the culture, the people, the food, everything. And that was back in, the late 90s. And I just fell in love with the country and the people and the culture so much that I, wanted to make it my mission to return every year. And so that became an annual trip. And then I think probably around 2012, I took a couple of friends because really people from America had not even, especially Black America, hadn't really been going to Cape Town or even South Africa back in the early 90s, the 2000s. So in 2012, I invited some friends and I put the whole trip together and they enjoyed it so much. They said, you should, start your own travel company. And so I did. And so every year I've been taking groups of people down to South Africa, specifically Cape Town, but now it's grown into Johannesburg. Now I've gone into even Ghana, but Tanzania, Kenya, Botswana, Zimbabwe, and so on. It's definitely has grown. So, but my key city has always been Cape Town. I just have a love for Cape Town. And so I've created a community in Cape Town as well. So we have a lot of expats that have moved to Cape Town.
So that also gets into a question about, someone asked, why not other provinces? The country offers so much more. And I think you did a pretty good job of explaining sort of why Cape Town and really kind of why we're focused on it at this point.
Yeah.
And there are other provinces, absolutely. Yeah. But Cape Town is pretty much where I think you have a lot of familiarity, a lot of contacts, specifically in the spaces of real estate, which we're going to be talking about.
Yes.
So I think that's one of the big reasons why we're focused on that right now.
So yes, to go a little bit further, Cape Town is a great launching point for, especially for us that are coming from the United States, because we have the things that we're used to in the United States. Cape Town has those things or more. So it's a great launch city to come and really immerse into the culture and the community. And then, of course, while you're there, you're going to find other provinces that you want to visit or live in. So yeah, it's just a great launching point.
Okay. So just to give you guys some perspective, the dates that we're going to be going April the 10th through the 17th.
That is correct. April 10th through the 17th. Yes.
And I will likely be going a couple of days in advance because I just love being there. And
I always do before my groups arrive. I always go about 5 days before, just so I can kind of decompress before and after.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, for us and our purposes and what we're trying to do, one of the reasons why I contacted Maurice in the first place was specifically because for me, I felt like the election cycle was feeling a little precarious. And we had this conversation, I think back in like August, I believe.
Yes.
And I just kind of had some fears about it. And I wanted to be able to provide people with options of what they could be doing in 2025 and beyond.
Yes.
To really get an understanding of like the fact that you have options. You're not limited to just living here in the United States. You can get out of the country and you can go and invest in these other places. Can you run down just some of the things that we will be doing while we're there?
Yeah, I think gone are the days where we felt that we were in America and that was the end all be all, right? But there's now so many other options as far as travel is concerned, especially South Africa. One thing that I love about South Africa is that they embrace their history of apartheid, and they turn that into opportunity. And that's because of Nelson Mandela. That's the path that he chose to live and go by, is that to face your adversities and turn those into actual opportunities. And so, a number of the things that we would do in Cape Town, of course, is to learn about the history of South Africa. We would go to like Robben Island, where Nelson Mandela was kept in prison for 18 years, and actually be toured around the prison. It's now a museum, but you would go over to Robben Island from Cape Town and actually be toured around the prison by an actual ex-prisoner that served with Nelson Mandela. So they know the prison firsthand. So you'll get a chance to actually walk around the prison and learn firsthand about their experience, and ask any questions that you would like to ask. Another thing that we would do in Cape Town is to go high atop Table Mountain. I've climbed it probably twice. I probably won't do that again. And then Lion's Head, which is next door, which is another mountain as well. It's a smaller mountain. But of course, you can go up to Table Mountain by a lift. Okay. Mm-hmm. And it takes you literally probably a minute to get up there because it's very quick, right? And the reason why it's called Table Mountain, because it's very flat at the top. And so, well, at least from a distance, it looks like a table.
Yeah.
And then there's a tablecloth that comes over now and then, which is actually a cloud cover. And when
Mm-hmm.
it sits on top, because of the dynamics of the atmosphere, when the cloud comes over, it just sits and just hovers on top of the mountain. So that's why it's called Table Mountain.
Yeah.
And then, so yeah, there's so much to do. And of course, if you like wine, there's over 300 wineries in Cape Town alone, in and around Cape Town. Mm-hmm. So if you're a wine person, certainly you could spend an entire day in Stellenbosch and Franschhoek and all around the wine route, such as Spice Route. And my favorite right now is Babylon Story, because you actually get to go out and learn about the different vines and how they make their different wine types, depending on how they train the vines.
Right.
Yeah. Of course, a highlight for me as well. I've got many highlights as far as Cape Town is concerned, is going all the way down to the south western tip of Africa, which is the Cape of Good Hope, where you can go all the way down. And they say that's where the two oceans meet, the Atlantic Ocean and the Indian Ocean. And along the way, you'll meet a couple of cousins or friends, I call them.
Is that actually where you got the name Two Oceans Travel from?
Yes.
Got it. Because that's the name of his business.
Yes, Two Oceans Travel and Tours, where the two oceans meet.
There you go.
And Africa's in the middle.
I never knew that. And all the time, like over a decade, I did not know that.
Yes. So Africa's in the middle. You have the Atlantic Ocean on one side and the Indian Ocean on the other. Two oceans.
So one of my favorite things has always been I'm not a big wine person, which is funny to me but every time I go to Cape Town, I have to do the wine tours. And
yes.
I think while we didn't do a specific wine tour, we had several spots on several days where we went to wineries, and they were phenomenal.
Yes.
They were absolutely phenomenal.
Yes.
Are we also going to be we're going to do a safari as well, right?
Yes. So there is a safari called the Aquila Safari. It's a great introduction safari. I've been to actual safaris out in the Serengeti in Tanzania and Kenya and other places. That is like, what's the name of the movie? The Lion King on steroids.
Yeah.
The Aquila will give you a taste of that, and it will have the top 5 animals, of course, such as your zebras and your lions and your giraffes and your elephants and that of that sort. So you'll get a chance to really be up close with these animals, but not a huge amount like you have up in the Serengeti or in Kruger if you were to go to Johannesburg or Pilanesberg, which is further north, right? So right here, it just kind of give you a taste of what it's like to actually go on a safari jeep and drive around and see the animals.
And I think along the way, when we were coming back, that's when we stopped. I cannot remember the place that we stopped at, but it was like so picturesque. It was so beautiful.
Yes. One of my favorite places.
It was
Spice Route.
Yes. Maurice, when we stopped there, I felt like
you see the view.
Yes, I was like, where are we? It did not look real.
It was a dream. It's a dream.
A set of a movie.
Yeah.
The way the mountains were in the background, and I have pictures and stuff like that, but I don't think that the pictures do it justice. You have
to be there. It's so
yourself.
Yeah. The first time I went there, it's called the Spice Route. And it's known for, you can do gin tasting there, you can do chocolate tasting. They have ice cream that's made there. They have wine tasting there as well. And just to sit out after you've grabbed your food and you just look out and you see the different colors of the landscape and the mountains. And it's you could take I've taken many pictures there several times, and it just does not do justice from our camera. You have to be there to see it with your own eyes. It's just amazing.
And I wanted to get into a comment here because this has been something that I think has been a little bit of a point of confusion for some people.
Okay.
We have a comment from Nubian Mahogany who says, I've always heard that South Africans don't really like Black Americans. Is that true? I'm going to give you my experience, and then I'm going to give yours. I can firmly tell you that for me, being in South Africa, specifically because I feel like, based on what I've learned about what happened during apartheid, I feel like there has been a concerted effort to really blend nationalities in South Africa and Cape Town specifically. And for me, what that meant was, what I saw was people from all different places who were Black, white, all different shades of the rainbow together. I felt more at home there than I do here.
Yes.
If that helps you at all in any way, shape, or form. So I'm sure that there are places that you go anywhere where you find that you may experience some negativity.
Yeah.
But for me, I can tell you that, again, that's why it feels like home to me, because it feels more like home there than it does here.
Yeah.
But that's just my thought. And
So
I'll
let me
let
tell you something about that. I actually had a few people that had refused to go on one of my trips to Cape Town. And then they went, and then they realized they were mistakenly educated. And it was all it changed their entire perception when they landed there. They hadn't even gotten through day one, and it was like, wait a minute, that's not what I was. This is not how what I was told. This is not what I'm experiencing. And then when we really got out into the different neighborhoods and the townships, and even in the city, um, you know, South Africa is known as the Rainbow Nation. Okay. And so it is just that. And Nelson Mandela really set that stage. It's taken a while because, of course, you have to get that mindset out.
Mhm.
And then you have the generations that are coming up that are being exposed to other worlds. But specifically to answer that question, that's not the case. I've never experienced anything negative in the over 20 years that I've been going and living in South Africa. It's such a loving place from all cultures because you really don't have a choice, because while you're there, everyone's happy, everyone's loving, everyone's caring. And I think the misconception um, is probably more about Americans versus South Africans. Okay.
And it's true, because sometimes people get it confused when they hear the term colored, and they think of colored in the way that we think of colored here in the United States, and it means something completely different in Africa and in South Africa specifically. So you really have to do the research. And I
Yeah.
also say this is true. You need to visit and find out for yourself,
Yeah.
because there's so much misinformation out there. And that's one of the reasons why we're doing these trips, is so that we can not only clear up those misconceptions, but show you something that is very different from what you're maybe experiencing here in the United States. And I also want to touch on another reason why we really wanted to do this, is because we also want to touch on investing in real estate there. Can you tell us
Absolutely.
a little bit about what we're going to be doing as well, along with wine tours, safaris, all the fabulous things that I cannot wait to do again? But can you talk to us
Yeah.
about the days where we'll be looking at real estate and talking about investments and learning about dual citizenship?
Sure. Absolutely. So one of the things that has popped up on every one of my trips where I've taken people is that how do I purchase property here? How do I get to live here? Because once they come, I have people now, I'll tell that story later, but it's always the same question, like, do you know anything about how I can purchase a property here, or a condo, or have an Airbnb? And I never put anything into it, because I just felt that I wanted to make sure that we dived into the experience, and then I would reach out to these people later on. But now it's become so much interest that I've decided to incorporate it into this particular trip. And the reason why is because we're going back to education as to traveling to different places and knowing what you can do when you get there, and how you can invest in the local economy, giving back, that sort of thing. And so I've received so many requests from people that are interested in purchasing property there, or at least investing, that I said, let's go ahead and do this. And real estate investment or development is in my backyard as well. And so it's an easy transition for me to do that. So what we've decided to do on this trip is to incorporate that. Even if you may not be interested, however curious, we are incorporating one day of having like a real estate investment orientation, and then going out to see various property types such as land, freestanding homes, condos, Airbnb opportunities, new developments. And so we've invested heavily in this venture so that you are successful in not only understanding what South Africa is about, but also how you can invest in the local economy and the community there as well. So for me, if it doesn't involve the community and giving back to the community and contributing to the community, it doesn't make sense. And so with our resources coming from America over to South Africa, I felt that we have enough talented people out here that want to take their funds and use them to build an opportunity for them when they retire, also a vacation spot as well. And so we want to take this moment to present that opportunity for you, not just like, Richie said, have a great time, but how can we also create investment opportunities for our future?
Yep. And I think that one of the things I want to remind you guys is if you are interested in this trip in any way, shape, or form, text Capetown to 202-918-3386. There's also a registration link in the description of this video. I will post it in the community tab. I will also send that registration link out to our texting group as well, so that you guys can have that information.
One more thing.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, one more thing I want to mention as well. So if you're coming from the United States, of course, we spend our money using the US dollar, right? In South Africa, they have the South African rand, or the ZAR. We refer to it as the rand. To our advantage, the US dollar is strong, okay? And so when you convert your US dollar over to South African rand, and then you see how much you can purchase a condo for, it's going to blow your mind. And so kind of moving over to that process, we also help you with that process as well on how to send your monies over to South Africa. And then a step further, if you're interested in retiring South Africa or spending more time there once you arrive, or when you come back home and realize, wait a minute, this could be my second home, we also work with you on applying for the correct visa as well. And then I'll go to my client. And if you want to talk about this really quickly, I have a client now that is in the process of purchasing 2 properties there and just got his visa approved for him to live there as well. So we help with that process as well.
And just for information purposes, we're actually going to be talking to that client tomorrow. So don't worry if you have questions for someone who has actually gone through that process, and we'll talk to him about why he did that, why he chose South Africa and Cape Town specifically. We're going to talk about that. A couple of people asked about the number. It's right here on the bottom of the screen where you can text. Just text Cape Town to 202-918-3386. And again, the registration link, and what you're going to get when you text that number is I'm going to resend you the registration link. So don't worry about if you don't get the registration link down below. I will be texting it to you if you do text that number. The other thing I wanted to piggyback off of was when I last went to Cape Town, Maurice set me up with the realtor who showed me a property that I am so mad that I could not follow through on, because I was also trying to purchase a home here in the United States. That property, if I can say, was at that point in time, it was an amazing condo. It was about $80,000. And it was being built in this amazingly beautiful. We visited the location. We saw what it was going to look like.
Was that my building?
So mad, huh?
Is that my building?
Yes, I was so mad. I'm to this day, I am regretting that I did not do that, because even if I had been able to put 30% down to start that process, it would have been, at this point in time, I would have it. And I'm so angry that I didn't do it. So if this is something that you're interested in, take the time to definitely come on this trip with us, learn about it. Even if you don't end up purchasing when we go, that's not the point. We want to get you exposed to what life can be like outside of the United States, especially in a place that is welcoming and affirming to people who look like us. Okay?
Absolutely. Yeah. And to take it a step further, what I decided to do also was to create an investment group. It's called the Capetown Real Estate Investment Group. You can go to www.ctreig.com for more information. Again, that's www.c as in Cape Town, T, R, Real Estate, investmentgroupg.com. And check out some of the real estate. We just listed actually our featured properties over the weekend, and you can sign up for more information there as well. And we'll be in touch with you, because what we decided to do as well, if you cannot purchase a home by yourself, there will be opportunity for you to invest as part of a group. We'll have different investment opportunities for 4 people, for 6 people that want to get in on something together, and reap the benefits off of that. So it'll be a smaller investment, but what we want you to do, because the investment is so great and so I consider affordable coming from the US.
Yeah.
We want you to see those properties as well. So take a look at ctreig.com. And if you have any questions about that, any of the properties there, just go ahead and sign up, register. I think it's at the bottom of the page. Send us a quick note and we'll be in touch with you.
Yes. That link is also going to be in the description of this video as well. So you'll have the information to register for the trip. You'll have the information for the investment group, which is really a knowledge base for you guys to have the knowledge of what's happening in terms of what you can potentially do there, and then the next steps for actually doing it. So we're going to have a lot of great information for you. And to be honest with you, Maurice, I think I'm going to need you to come back in probably about 2 weeks, because I feel like we want to be able to do this again, just to be able to reach as many people as we possibly can. Again, I am going to have someone on tomorrow who is also going to tell you about why he chose to invest in Capetown. And I think you're going to hear a whole different perspective on someone else who is also well-traveled, but chose there in order to build his home.
So yeah,
go ahead.
In 2 weeks, I'll be in Capetown, so I'll have the perfect backdrop.
Exactly. And this is someone who's there quite a bit.
Yeah.
As I intend to be next year. So I am super excited about this, y'all. Maurice, I wanted to say thank you so much for this information, because for me, I know that a lot of people here have been feeling a lot of emotions about, what happened with the election and, what is coming, or, what whatever their anxieties may be. And I just wanted to make it my mission, specifically on this channel, to be able to provide people with a source of something positive, something to look forward to, something to get excited about in the new year, outside of whatever they may be seeing happening in the United States. Know that there are other places outside of the United States that you can go visit, get away, work remotely, get dual citizenship, get a digital nomad visa, and you have options for yourself and for your family. So that's why we're doing this. It's not just going to be a fabulous trip, because it is. And if you went to Bali, then it's going to be fabulous. But it's Capetown, so it's going to be extra exciting, because I know Capetown. So to me, I'm just like, I know what it gives. Don't miss this.
And we'll have a couple of surprises as well. I was almost there to say a couple of things, but we're going to have a couple of surprises for you as well. And so to just really top off the trip in itself. So we're looking forward to having you there, having a great, great time. It's going to be a fun time.
Yes, indeed. So again, text Capetown to 202-918-3386. The registration link is also in the description of this video. Can you give them the Capetown Real Estate Group URL one more time? And then I got one more thing to tell them, and then we'll head out.
Absolutely. So for Capetown Real Estate Investment Group, that will be www.ctreig.com. Again, that's ctreig.com.
And for those of you guys who may have missed it, the date for the trip will be April 10th through the 17th of 2025. I will send that out as well as a reminder, and it'll also be on the registration page as well. So get the information that you need. If you have questions, you can always ask me, shoot me a message. I will post something in the community tab for it as well. And guys, listen, don't miss out on this trip. We will have payment plans, correct?
Yes, that is correct. Yeah, we'll communicate with you as soon as we receive your registration information. It's very easy to fill out, very quick and easy. Send it over, and then you'll receive an email from us more about the trip. and how you can actually put your deposit down and make monthly payments.
Yes. So it will be a seamless process for you to make your deposit, for them to continue to pay on the trip up until a certain point in time. And then also someone asked about flights. We'll try to find out what do you usually fly when you fly to Cape Town? I guess it just kind of depends on
Me?
where in the country you're flying from.
Oh, so I fly a lot, and I try to take various airlines, to be honest with you, just for the experience. I'm not really in a rush when I'm going somewhere, especially like to Cape Town. So from the United States, you have, if you're on the East Coast, you have United Airlines that flies out of Newark nonstop, out of Washington, D.C. nonstop. You have Delta Airlines that flies out of Atlanta nonstop. Okay, so those are 3 U.S. carriers that fly nonstop into Cape Town nonstop, and also into Johannesburg as well. But since we're flying into Cape Town, you have United out of Newark, out of Washington, D.C. Dulles, and Delta Airlines out of Atlanta nonstop. You can, however, if you're coming over and you want to make a stop in Istanbul or London or Doha or Dubai or that sort of thing, and just kind of, have a day in one of those cities or countries, then you can travel British Airways, Qatar, Emirates, Turkish, and do like a 1-day layover, do a city tour. Because a lot of these airlines actually, I'll probably give a little secret here. If you arrive early in the morning, right, especially in some of these cities, they have a day tour of that city if you've never been to Istanbul or Dubai or other places, and you can go for free on a day tour, stop for lunch, and they'll bring you back for your evening flight into Cape Town. So think about that as well, because the flight rate may be cheaper, but look at what you get, right? You get that nice little layover, you can see that city, and then hop back on the flight and head on down to Cape Town. So for me, I always take the cheapest route. I don't care if it takes me 24 hours. If I have a 12-hour layover somewhere, I'm going to do that, and then keep it moving.
And that's the thing I learned about traveling too, is like I'm a little less concerned now about getting there as fast as I can, because now I want to see more and do more. So having those stopovers to me is actually fun, because it gives me a break a little bit from the flying experience.
Yes.
And if I can, if I land in Abu Dhabi or something like that, I'm going to take that 24 hours to do that. I think you get like 48 hours in
You do.
Abu Dhabi if you fly like Etihad or some other airways. So
Yes.
take those opportunities. And also there are airlines where you can also put your flight on a payment plan. Emirates does that as well. So if you're flying Emirates, that's a great airline to use that payment plan for. And I think the last thing that I wanted to say to you guys was, oh my God, it was something good. This was it. I was answering God's number one point. April. He takes office January 20th. I plan to be moved by then. The reason why we're choosing April is because it gives people time to pay. So if you wanted to pay over time, you have that option to do so. We wanted to be able to give people flexibility in order to do this, because we know that, time is moving. So we wanted to get this popping as soon as possible. So like I said, Maurice, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. We'll have you back, like I said, in about 2 weeks. Hopefully we can while you're there, so that they can get an idea of at least the backdrop of Cape Town, if they haven't seen any of my videos already. With that being said, Maurice, tell them where they can find you on Instagram, and then we will head out.
Sure. You can find me at I am Maurice Foley on Instagram. I am Maurice Foley on Instagram. Okay. Yeah. And then you'll see Two Oceans Travel there as well. And I'm also the founder and CEO of the annual Black Travel Expo that's held in Atlanta every year as well. So we'll be making an announcement about the 2025 date shortly.
Awesome. Prudy Full says, how long is the flight in general? It depends on what airline you take and what type of stops you make, but I would say, how long would you say?
Yeah, so if you're doing nonstop from the East Coast, depending on how much the wind is blowing, it takes about 15 hours. I've done it in 13 because we had a really good push. So if you go nonstop from the East Coast, it's roughly between 13 and 15 hours nonstop. I've done it so many times, it feels like 5 hours. So, but if you want to break it up, definitely stop over somewhere.
If you do it by way, it'll be about 30 hours. But again, I'm flying to London or wherever first, just because that's what I like to do. So
yeah, and just make
sure
your passport is valid. Make sure that it does not expire 6 months after you return to the U.S. Not while you're there. No vaccinations required. The water is totally safe there, even though I drink bottled water anyways. But the water is totally safe there. The food is amazing and fresh. And I just love everything about it. The people, the culture, the food. Yeah.
The great thing about what's happening, Latoya, real quick before we go, is that Maurice has a travel agency. So, and I'm about to become a travel agent. So at this point, it's like you'll have many options. And again, Maurice's information will also be on the flyer that I post. So you can also ask him questions as well.
Yeah. Always here.
With that, I think we are good. And Maurice, thank you so much for your time today. We went a little bit over, but it was good because we got to answer questions.
Okay.
And some of this I will post on Instagram, I think, once I get a chance to chop it up. So we'll have it there too. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in, tapping in, and being turned on to this information. Maurice, again, we'll catch up with you. I'll text you after we get off. And Skye Squad, you guys are amazing. I love y'all, and I will see you in South Africa. Bye, y'all.
Bye, everybody.